The very important question we're faced today with is, what's the deal with ISIS? Where are they coming from? What's their deal? And more importantly, how do we stop them? Well, the CIA has just released a report saying that they expect there to be 20 to 31,000 fighters for ISIS that the organization can call upon. Now, President Obama has authorized 475 soldiers to be sent to Iraq to help fight. He says there's not going to be boots on the ground. They're not going to get dragged into another war. And he's also authorized military strikes, meaning missiles and whatnot, to be used against the group bombings. Now, let's face the facts about this. ISIS is out of hand and is going to require boots on the ground by someone in order to stop them. It's 20 to 30,000 guys. They're not just going to go away by themselves. It's not going to be a simple matter of just a couple of precision airstrikes and they'll disappear. But where is ISIS coming from? Now, ISIS formed out of the Syrian rebel group, the FSA, so-called Free Syrian Army, essentially the terrorist forces backed by the United States, Israel, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, Turkey, and other NATO countries. This is where they're coming from. This is what radicalized them, because the U.S. has been funding them and pushing them from the beginning. There's no sense in denying it. It's pretty much all out in the open now. John McCain has gone over there, shaken hands with them and celebrated with them and whatnot. This is where they've gotten their training from. This is where they've gotten their weapons from. This is where they've gotten a lot of their cash from. Did the United States intentionally create ISIS? No, that was not their intention. They didn't want ISIS to exist. ISIS is the result of interference in other countries. ISIS is what happens when the U.S. government fosters radical Islam in order to attack its enemies. So while, yes, the United States is responsible, and the rest of the NATO countries, for ISIS existing, they did not intend for that organization to exist. They did, however, foment all the radical Islam that forms the basis for it, and the weapons and cash and training that they gave other organizations in order to fight the government of Bashar al-Assad did end up in the hands of ISIS. In other words, of all the Islamic militant groups that they've been funding and backing, at least one of them has gotten out of their control. The United States can't tell them what to do. They can't control them. So they've broken away from the power and influence that essentially gave birth to them and is now acting on their own. And they have now their own goal, which is very separate from what the United States wanted the FSA and other such type militants to do. And their goals are, they're frankly ridiculous. We're talking about 20 to 31,000 people building an Islamic caliphate that encompasses an area with a population of 1.1 billion people? I mean, come on, the United States military can't even correctly occupy Afghanistan. And we're supposed to believe these 31,000 guys are supposed to occupy and control an area of 1.2 billion or 1 point something billion people? It's not going to happen. It's just not. They're not going to win. The only thing they really can do is eventually just grind populations into submission. They're only just going to be able to keep pushing and keep fighting and causing more misery with no actual end in sight, because they can't actually win. But they genuinely believe, by their religious fundamentalist insanity, that they can win because their cause is righteous. Another true sign of delusion. But they're not going to. ISIS literally can't achieve anything but making people suffer. They can't build anything, they can't do anything, and they sure as hell aren't going to bring back the ancient Arab empires who were, pretty advanced. They're not going to do that. It's just not going to happen. ISIS is the result of several factors, not just U.S. imperialist interference, but also the popular anger towards U.S. imperialist interference. Everybody in the Middle East knows this, that the United States is constantly going into their countries and causing all these kinds of problems, funding all these radical, insane groups. And now one particular group says that they're going to stand up and fight against them, and have gotten significant military victories, which leads a lot of credibility to what they're saying, which boosts up their credibility in the eyes of people in the area. And somebody's saying, finally, we're going to do something about it. Because our country's leaders aren't doing anything about it. Our clerics aren't doing anything about it. In fact, they're outright bowing to U.S. imperialist interests. So they know those leaders are useless and not going to accomplish anything. So they do turn to these militants. Of course, the logical course in this would be to overthrow your government and replace it with something that's a hell of a lot better, not go off into this religious fundamentalist crazy streak. But this is what you get when you deliberately force the third world, and this is where it's coming from, and we all know that. When you force them down with imperialism into these conditions, you take away their health care, you take away their education primarily, and many other things, they're going to lash back. And because they're not politically guided by any kind of force, because the U.S. military, the United States empire, has spent the last couple decades destroying every kind of political opposition to their occupation, they're just going to lash out in ways that are not productive, like ISIS. ISIS is not just the result of popular anger at the United States occupation, or even the result of the U.S. supporting militant groups. It's the result of the U.S. in general smashing down people for their own benefit, for the country's resources, cheaper labor, access to markets, all kinds of things, and have forced them into this situation. And this is the reaction that occurs as a result. And that's where I think this really is coming from. This really is coming from a place of suffering. These people are desperate and are lashing back in any way they can find. And this is the most credible way of lashing back that they have. Really, I would like there to be some kind of, secular political opposition to focus all this, frankly, righteous anger towards, to build a much better society, rather than the psychotic religious fundamentalist hellhole that ISIS would prefer everybody have. Thank you for watching. Please comment and rate the video. If you liked it, hit subscribe or check out some of these other great videos. If you wish, share it on social media. While you're at it, why don't you follow me on Twitter? And if you got time, go on over to the MRN bookstore and check out some of the latest books available.